Nestled deep within the unforgiving wilderness, Hollow Creek was once a bustling mining town. Families thrived, laughter echoed. Then tragedy struck. The mine collapsed, swallowing the town's heart and its people. Survivors fled, leaving behind a ghost town consumed by nature's relentless embrace. Decades passed, and Hollow Creek faded into obscurity, a haunting reminder of life's fragility. Whispers of the town's dark fate spread among those brave enough to venture into the surrounding woods. But legends whispered of more than just a mining disaster. They spoke of restless spirits, forever bound to the land where they met their untimely end. Hollow Creek, they said, was not merely abandoned, but haunted. A place where the veil between the living and the dead was thin, almost non-existent. The wind howled through the skeletal remains of Hollow Creek, carrying with it the weight of forgotten stories. This once thriving town, now a mere shadow of its former self, stood as a testament to the passage of time and the fragility of human endeavors. The wooden buildings, now weathered and decayed, whispered secrets of a bygone era, their creaks and groans blending with the mournful wind. Stories of the families who called this place home, their dreams shattered in an instant. These families, who once filled the streets with laughter and life, now existed only in faded photographs and fragmented memories. The houses, once filled with warmth and love, now stood empty, their broken windows like hollow eyes staring into the void. Stories of the miners trapped beneath tons of unforgiving earth. These brave souls, who toiled day and night in the hopes of striking it rich, met their untimely end in the dark, suffocating depths of the mines. Their sacrifices, now etched into the very fabric of the town, served as a grim reminder of the perils of ambition. Those who dared to venture into the town's eerie silence claimed to hear whispers on the wind. These whispers, barely audible yet unmistakable, seemed to carry the voices of the past, echoing through the empty streets and abandoned buildings. Some said they could hear the faint laughter of children, the soft murmur of conversations, and the distant clinking of glasses from the long-abandoned saloon. Unexplained noises, like distant conversations and the mournful strum of a banjo, seemed to emanate from the dilapidated buildings. These sounds, both haunting and mesmerizing, drew the curious and the brave to Hollow Creek, each hoping to catch a glimpse of the town's spectral inhabitants. The saloon, once a lively hub of activity, now stood as a silent witness to the passage of time, its broken windows and open doors inviting the wind to play its mournful tune. Were these simply tricks of the wind or echoes of the past, desperate to be heard? The question lingered in the minds of those who visited, each trying to decipher the true nature of the phenomena. Some believed it was the spirits of the departed, unable to move on, while others thought it was merely the wind playing tricks on their senses. Regardless of the explanation, the allure of Hollow Creek remained undeniable. The stories spread like wildfire, attracting thrill-seekers, paranormal investigators, and those seeking answers to the mysteries that shrouded Hollow Creek. These visitors, armed with cameras, recording devices, and an insatiable curiosity, roamed the deserted streets, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. Around campfires, they shared their experiences, each tale more chilling than the last, fueling the legend of Hollow Creek. Among them were 4 friends, drawn to the town's tragic history and the chilling tales of its haunting. These friends, each with their own reasons for visiting, found themselves captivated by the eerie beauty of Hollow Creek. As they explored the town, they felt a strange connection to the past, as if the spirits of the former inhabitants were guiding their steps. Their journey through Hollow Creek would become a story of its own, a new chapter in the town's long and haunting history. Liam, the skeptic, armed with logic and a healthy dose of disbelief. He had always been the one to question everything, never taking things at face value. His friends often joked that he would argue with a ghost if he ever saw one. But today, his skepticism would be put to the ultimate test. Emily, the sensitive one, drawn to the energy of places imbued with history. She could feel the echoes of the past in her bones, sensing the stories that walls and stones could tell. Her intuition was her guide, leading her to places where history seemed to whisper in the wind. Jake, the thrill-seeker, eager to confront the unknown. His heart raced at the thought of adventure, and he thrived on the adrenaline rush that came with exploring the unexplained. For him, fear was just another challenge to overcome, another story to tell. And Sophia, the documentarian, determined to capture the truth, whatever it may be. Her camera was her shield and her weapon, a way to document the world and uncover its secrets. She believed that every place had a story, and it was her mission to tell it. Their journey to Hollow Creek was fraught with a growing sense of unease. The stories they had heard about the place were enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Tales of disappearances, ghostly apparitions, and a town that seemed to exist outside of time. The road, barely more than a dirt track, was swallowed by encroaching forest. The trees seemed to close in around them, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the sky. It felt as if the forest itself was trying to keep them out, or perhaps trap them within. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy, casting long, eerie shadows. The light that did manage to break through was weak and pale, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, seemed amplified in the oppressive silence. As they crossed the invisible threshold into the town, a palpable shift occurred. It was as if they had stepped into another world, one where time had stopped and the air was thick with memories. The town seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something to happen. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. A thick mist began to roll in, wrapping around them like a shroud. It was difficult to see more than a few feet ahead, and the world beyond the mist seemed to disappear entirely. Birdsong ceased, replaced by an unsettling silence broken only by the rustling of leaves. The usual sounds of the forest were gone, replaced by an eerie stillness. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to break the silence. They had entered a place untouched by time, frozen in the moment of its demise. The buildings were crumbling, but they still stood as silent witnesses to whatever had happened here. It was a ghost town in every sense of the word, a place where the past lingered like a shadow. Liam's skepticism began to waver as they ventured deeper into the town. The logical part of his mind struggled to make sense of the sensations he was experiencing. The air felt thick, almost tangible, and the silence was oppressive. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Emily, on the other hand, felt a deep connection to the place. She could almost hear the whispers of the past, the echoes of lives once lived. Her sensitivity to the energy of the town was both a gift and a curse, as it made her acutely aware of the sorrow and pain that lingered in the air. Jake's excitement was tempered by a growing sense of caution. The thrill of the unknown was still there, but it was accompanied by a nagging feeling of danger. He pushed forward, determined to uncover the secrets of Hollow Creek, but he couldn't ignore the unease that gnawed at him. Sophia's camera captured every detail, every shadow, every flicker of movement. She was determined to document their journey, to capture the truth of what they were experiencing. Her camera was her lifeline, a way to make sense of the strange and unsettling world they had entered. As they stood in the center of the abandoned town, a sense of foreboding settled over them. The stories they had heard about Hollow Creek seemed all too real now. They were no longer just tales told around a campfire. They were living the reality of a place where curiosity had led them into the heart of terror. They set up camp in the former town hall, its once grand facade now crumbling and draped in moss. The building, once a symbol of the town's prosperity, now stood as a haunting reminder of its forgotten past. Vines and moss had claimed the structure, weaving through the cracks and crevices, giving it an eerie, almost otherworldly appearance. The windows, shattered and dark, seemed to watch them with hollow eyes as they unpacked their gear. As darkness descended, so too did the temperature, a bone-chilling cold that seeped into their bones. The mist rolled in, thick and heavy, wrapping around them like a shroud. Their breath became visible in the frigid air, each exhale a ghostly plume that quickly dissipated. The night was silent save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl, adding to the sense of isolation and unease. The silence was broken only by the crackle of their campfire and their hushed whispers. The flames danced and flickered, casting long, wavering shadows on the walls. They huddled close to the fire, seeking warmth and comfort in its glow. The firelight revealed the age and decay of the room, with peeling wallpaper and broken furniture scattered about. It was a stark contrast to the warmth and camaraderie they tried to maintain. Emily, always attuned to her surroundings, felt a presence. Her eyes darted around the room, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone, that something unseen was watching them. Her heart raced, and she tried to steady her breathing, not wanting to alarm the others. A coldness that seemed to emanate from the far corner of the room, a prickling sensation on the back of her neck. It was as if the very air in that corner was different, heavier and more oppressive. She shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her. But the chill persisted. It was a cold that seemed to reach into her very soul, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. When she spoke of it, Liam dismissed it as nerves, but Jake's eyes gleamed with a mixture of fear and excitement. Liam tried to reassure her, attributing her unease to the spooky atmosphere and the stories they had heard about the place. But Jake, always the thrill-seeker, seemed almost eager to encounter whatever might be lurking in the shadows. His excitement was palpable, and it only served to heighten Emily's anxiety. That night, as they lay in their sleeping bags, a floorboard creaked in the hallway. The sound was sharp and distinct, cutting through the silence like a knife. They all froze, their ears straining to catch any further noise. The creak was followed by a series of soft, deliberate footsteps, each one growing louder as they approached. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, approached their room. The doorknob rattled. It was a sound that sent a jolt of fear through them, a reminder that they were not alone. The footsteps stopped just outside the door, and for a moment there was only silence. Then the doorknob began to turn, slowly at first, then more forcefully, as if someone or something was trying to get in. Terror, primal and instinctive, gripped their hearts. They exchanged fearful glances, their minds racing with possibilities. Was it a person, an animal, or something far more sinister? The fear was almost tangible, a heavy weight that pressed down on them, making it hard to breathe. They knew they had to act, but the terror held them in place, paralyzing them with its intensity. Someone or something was with them in the darkness. The shadowy figure seemed to blend into the darkness, its form indistinct and menacing. It moved with a fluid grace, almost as if it were gliding rather than walking. The air grew colder and the sense of dread intensified. They could feel its presence, a malevolent force that seemed to feed on their fear. It was a night they would never forget, a night that would haunt their dreams for years to come.